So, last time, I said my next video was going to be part 2 in my series going over the Warrior of Light, where I was going to go over the lore and backstory of my own character in Final Fantasy XIV, Mutsuki Yuka. But, seeing as that's a pretty big topic and is also supposed to be my 1,000 subscriber special, I want to take my time and really put in all the effort I can into it. Of course, I also said I was going to be increasing the rate of my video production, so today we're going to talk about something else I mentioned in my last video. The Warrior of Light's willingness to fight and kill for the sake of the realm. Now, let me start off by saying that this is going to be a pretty loaded topic. I mean, even in the context of a video game story, whether killing at all can be justified by the main character, and to what extent, is a heated moral argument that everyone's going to have their own answers to. I'm going to try to be as objective about this as possible, and talk about this from what we see in the game, but do keep in mind I think this is one of those times where your personal views and desires for your Warrior of Light outweigh anything stated in canon. I'm not going to go all non-canon police on you if you want to say your Warrior of Light never kills anyone, or enjoys wanton slaughter, or anything in between. Also, while we're at it, I did want to mention that by kill, I do mean the killing of sentient creatures and not animals. Obviously, the Warrior of Light slays animals and beasts all the time, and while I do know that also has its own moral arguments behind it, I really wanted to frame this discussion around taking the lives of people rather than living things in general. For obvious reasons, this includes non-humanoid races like the dragons and beast tribes, who are shown to have sentience and high-level thinking and communication skills. That being said, given what we see in the game, does the Warrior of Light kill? The short answer is yes, but before we get into that, I want to talk about what constitutes a death in Final Fantasy XIV, because it can be kind of complicated and ambiguous at times. For starters, it's tempting to say that if we see an enemy collapse, usually with some kind of dying animation, that means they've died. And certainly this seems reinforced by the fact that various animals and non-human beasts we slay often drop things like horns and skin. Things you wouldn't be able to obtain without killing the animal and harvesting them. So, therefore, it's tempting to say that this logic also applies to human characters as well. You drop their HP to 0, they collapse, and they die, right? Well, not necessarily. For starters, there are instances in fights in the game where our opponents very clearly collapse after we've defeated them, and they disappear. But we're not actually killing them. Usually when this happens, they appear in the next cutscene right after the fight. Moreover, even the Warrior of Light has a death animation, but we don't die either. Oh yeah, while we're on this topic, let's talk about the player dying. When we die, either in the overworld or in an instance duty of any kind, that's not us technically dying. It gets a bit confusing because a lot of the raise spells call their effects Resurrection, and Dark Knight's Invuln is literally called Living Dead. But for clarification, your Warrior of Light only ever gets incapacitated, and never actually properly dies. This is also why healing and raise spells don't work on NPCs that have already died or otherwise sustained fatal injuries. Your heals only go so far, and can't really protect against or prevent full-on dying. The game makes this very clear and always refers to it as being KO'd rather than dying, but I've seen some confusion of this floating around in discussion forums. In particular, I've seen some people throw around speculation that the Warrior of Light actually does die and just uses that weird Echo soul transfer power we see that one Sahagin and later Xenos use. However, as mentioned, the Warrior of Light doesn't really die when they're incapacitated like that, and even if they did die, it's made very clear that that Echo possession requires an extra body, so unless you have thousands of Warrior of Light clones stored up somewhere in secret, or are just possessing hapless Eorzeans out of nowhere, this explanation doesn't really make sense. Either way, my point here is that the Warrior of Light, and many other characters in the game, do have the capacity to survive even after being defeated. So I don't think that seeing an enemy's HP drop to 0 is enough to say definitively that we've killed them. Now, am I trying to argue that, out of the hundreds of waves of Garleans, pirates, rogues, hunters, and soldiers the Warrior of Light has taken down, all of them were simply knocked out and none of them died as a direct result of our actions? I think that's a bit unrealistic, though the argument is there. On the flip side, I think that people on the other side of things, citing this as evidence that the Warrior of Light is a cold-blooded murderer, happily mowing down enemies left and right like it's nothing, shouldn't be so quick to add every fallen soldier to the body count. Now, before everyone who wants the Warrior of Light to be some paragon of justice with a staunch no-killing policy starts celebrating just because I said it's possible, albeit unlikely, that the enemies we've defeated have managed to survive, keep in mind that we have definitely unambiguously killed at least 20 people over the course of the story. These people are Ritaten Sas Arvina, Livia Sas Junius, Nidhogg, Igiorm, Archbishop Thornton and the Heavens Ward, Grindwald, and 3 more that are spoilers for Shadowburgers. Now, this isn't to say that we haven't killed more, but these are the ones we are clearly seen fighting on screen in a battle or cutscene where the character's death comes as the direct result of our actions. There are also some other more minor characters I might be missing with this list, and certainly some other characters in job quests and other optional quests I left out due to them not necessarily applying to everyone. But these are some of the more high-profile characters the Warrior of Light has definitely killed for the sake of Eorzea. So, while I don't think we should count every single fight or conflict we partake in as a fight to the death, I do think the Warrior of Light has and does definitely take some lives in their ongoing fight to protect the realm and its people as a whole. How willing the Warrior of Light is to take a life is definitely another question altogether, and one we don't really get a straight answer for directly from the game. In the Warring Triad questline, Y'shtola scolds Uno Kalhai for thinking that the Warrior of Light would be unwilling to end the lives of tempered prisoners in one of the containment bays, stating that the Warrior of Light is strong enough and willing to do so, and that it's part of every Scion's duty. However, seeing as this is technically optional content, and Y'shtola is speaking for us on this one, I'd definitely take what she's saying with a grain of salt. On the flip side, the Dark questline from 60 to 70 does address the Warrior of Light's possible feelings of regret due to constantly being forced to kill for the sake of the realm, though, once again, this is optional content, and also, I think the way they handled this topic was really poorly done. I'll probably talk more about why I really dislike Dark Knight's 60 to 70 questline, especially compared to the rest of it, after I've gone over Dark Knight as a job in its own video, but all I'm going to say here is that there are parts of the game that do potentially hint that the Warrior of Light does feel deep remorse for their actions, no matter how necessary. So, at the end of the day, does the Warrior of Light kill? Yes. Everything we see in the game seems to suggest that, while possibly reluctant, the Warrior of Light is capable and willing to take a life if it's to protect and save the realm and the world as a whole. Of course, once again, that's just what I think there's strong evidence for in the game, and ultimately whether or not you want your own personal Warrior of Light's morals to align with that or not is up to you. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. As mentioned, this was a short little discussion side video, just to hold you guys over until I finish part 2 of my Warrior of Light video / 1,000 subscriber special. So don't worry, that's still in the works. Also, in the meantime, do be sure to check me out over on Twitch, where I'm streaming 3 days out of the week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter for more lore, memes, and stream announcements, and if you're into ASMR, I do have a new ASMR channel that I'm actually going to remember to put the link for in the description right away this time. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, do be sure to leave a like, drop any questions, suggestions, or comments down below, and subscribe if you want more Final Fantasy XIV content from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.